Hey guys, and welcome to /Rex Games. This is going to be part 7 on my HTTP DLL2 networking series, and in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to create bullets and send the bullets across the server to the other clients. It's going to be fantastic. I've noticed that a lot of you guys have been commenting, get to the bullets, as the series has progressed. Because that's where all the action is. That's where the actual game that we're creating starts to come about, and there's some sort of goal and objective to shoot other people and to not get shot. So here on my left and right, I've got two clients. Don't worry about the server, it's running in the background. And here on the left, we've got a dude who's got... they both got the same sprite here. They're like a second level upgrade. But for now, I'm just going to show you how to work with the two front guns. See, it's those two front ones there in the nose of our spaceship. So basically, we're going to click the left mouse button. It's going to shoot, either the left or the right cannon. You can see there's two left and right cannon. And there's going to be a slight pause, so it's not just going to be both of them shooting at the same time. So it's going to look pretty fantastic. So here I'm controlling the left-hand side. That's me moving around. See, it's sending it there to the right. And if I shoot, boom, boom, boom. See? It's kind of cool. I've got the bullets going really slowly so we can see. If you have a look at them, see, it's sending them correctly. When I shoot, it has a number and a name. Basically what we're doing, we're creating the bullet, then what we're doing is we are giving the bullet the ID of our player, as well as our player name. This is going to be useful later on, where we need to do hit detections. When the bullet hits a character, we need to make sure that we're not detecting it hitting ourselves, so it's not taking down our own health, and when it hits an enemy, that enemy is going to lose health, he's going to destroy and explode, the bullet's going to destroy itself, it's going to know all these different things. And that's all dependent on what variables we give it when it is created. So there we are, we're shooting, it's creating it at the left and the right, it's sending it to the server is creating it only on the server ID, so that's the player that corresponds to me on my client. See there? It's creating it. And what I'm doing here is I'm saving as much bandwidth as I possibly can. So when I create a bullet, what I'm doing is I'm only sending like the bullet's origin, that's its X and Y where it's being created, as well as its angle, right? Then what the server is doing is it's repeating that information to all the clients. And then when a bullet's created on that client, it's only going to create that bullet where it needs to be at a certain angle, and the bullet's going to have its own predefined speed, and then it's going to be going at that speed. It's going to say its direction is the same as its image angle, so there it goes. So ultimately we're not in any way tracking this bullet. This bullet is not sending its coordinates to the server every step, see? It's exactly the same, and no matter how much we move around, as long as that bullet gets its correct X and Y and its image angle, it's going to be continuing on that trajectory forever. So we don't have to track it in any way. All we got to do is at a later stage say, well, if our player collides with the bullet, then we'll do stuff with the information that the bullet holds. So there we go. See, we can have a little game here. Billy, who has an ID of 2, he's shooting back there at me, JP. And I can dodge his bullets. Oh, he's going out of the screen slightly. See, pretty interesting. So obviously, you'd increase the speed of these bullets. You could add the other rockets and stuff as it goes along. But for now, I'm just going to be doing the two front guns, just to get that whole theory along. And then in part 8 we're going to be doing hit detection, so that's going to be awesome. So let's jump straight into the project file. If at this point you'd like to take a look at the project file while I explain things, that'll be pretty awesome. You can find all the links in the description below. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the project. So here we are within the project files. On the left, as always, there's the server, and on the right we have the client. Currently we only have those 3 sprites, ship 1, ship 2 and ship 3. So what I want to do first is I want to add a sprite bullet. Create a sprite here, SPR bullet. Load in a sprite here in my resources, there it is. Okay, it's going to have an origin of, 2 and 1, so it's way to the left. Okay, so that's good, we got our sprite bullet. Now let's jump into our local player, and we need to give it some sort of, some variables to control the creating of the bullets and the shooting and stuff like that. So firstly, we're going to have a create event over here. Drag in some code. Then what we want to do is create a variable called max ammo. Then we want a variable called ammo. Whoops. And we also want variables such as can shoot 1 and can shoot 2. I'll show you why. If we go to these images, again, notice they've got 2 guns, left and right. So as we saw in the preview, we want the first one to shoot, then we want the second one to shoot, left, right, left, right. We don't want left, right to shoot at the same time. That looks kind of boring. So it's left, right, left, right, left, right. It looks really awesome. So that's what we're going to have here. We're going to set one to true on start, and the other one is going to be set to false on start. Max ammo, let's give it 100, and then for now we'll just set ammo equals max ammo. I mean, you can change that depending on the sprite, whatever you want. Then at this point in time, if you haven't seen my shooting tutorials, any of my other top-down shooting tutorials, as well as adding the pause between the shots, I do suggest you check that out before going into this, because most of it is the same. I mean, it's slightly different, but it's the same concept, especially when we are creating the bullet at the point, no matter where the player is, and his image angle. So check that out. Links are in the description as well as in the banner right now on the screen. Then you can always hop back into this one and you'll understand exactly everything I'm doing here right now in this object player to do with shooting. So if we look back here at the ship, there it is. So it's got the left and the right gun. So what we need to do is we need to work out that x coordinate with relation to its origin and its image angle. So basically what we do is we take note of the origin at 22 and 61, and then we move this to the point, the one gun, and we get 82 and 53, and what we do is we work out the difference between that and the origin that we had, and then we place this in here. So we're going to have some variables. One's going to be called len x1, len y1, len x2, len y2. Okay, so back over here, we've got our x1 and x2 is going to be there, and our x2 and y2 is over there. Remember, that is the difference between this value and whatever our origin is, which is in this case 22 and 61. So you take whatever it is, 81, you minus 22, then you take 52, and you get the difference between it and 61, and those are the values that we place right over here. So I've worked this out beforehand. Our len x1 is 61, our y1 is -9, our x2 is positive 61, so I'm just going to put 61, and our y2 is 9. Notice that we've got a lot of symmetry going on here. That helps if your sprites are symmetrical, so then you can just work out the left hand side and then just mirror it to the right hand side. That's what I've pretty much done here. So obviously the x difference between the origin and where the gun is 61 pixels, and the y difference is 9. See, 9 up and 9 down. Just like that. So we've got our max ammo, we've got our booleans here telling which gun to shoot, and we've got our exact positions where the bullets need to be created. Now what we've got to do is take into account the image angle of our actual spaceship. So now we're going to go into our local player, add a mouse, global mouse left pressed, or left button actually, not left pressed, because this is in global space, so anywhere on the game map, this left button. Then we're going to add some code right over here. Let's make this bigger. And first we need to say, well, if ammo is greater than 0, obviously we can't shoot if it isn't. That's one of our biggest points right over there. And here we're going to say if can shoot 1 equals true, or can shoot 2 equals true. See, this is where you can divide your guns up. So here we want to actually make sure that we are able to shoot any one of our guns. So because I'm only showing you how to do the 2 front guns, I'm checking if can shoot 1 is true, or can shoot 2 equals true. So as long as one gun can be shot, then we can do some stuff. For example, we can create a bullet ID temporary variable. We can decrease ammo by 1. Then over here we want to be more specific, and we want to find out, well, which gun are we shooting from? So if can shoot 1 equals true, else if can shoot 2 equals true. Okay, so if it's our left gun, which is the first can shoot, then here we're going to say var the x, and we have another var the y, and here we're going to say these ones are equal to len x 1, and this one's len y1. Now, we'll get to exactly why I'm creating temporary variables here. Pretty much because we've got 2 guns, we're going to be doing a lot of the same code. So what I've done is I've created some temporary variables so that we'll only have to do the big shooting bits once. We don't have to type out all this code multiple times. So here we've got var the x and var the y, and setting those to the x1 and the y1 because this is the first gun, probably the left one I think. Then here we're going to say can shoot 1 equals false. We want to add a slight pause, And then here we're going to call an alarm. I don't have any alarms yet, so this is going to be alarm 0. And I'm going to give it 6. Okay, so that's a very small span of time. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here, change alarm 0 to alarm 1, len x 1, change these both to 2, can shoot changes to 2. And that's pretty much that. So now we need to create these alarms. Basically all these alarms do is change this can shoot variable from false to true. So here we see, can we shoot number 1? Yes, we can. We shoot number 1 right over here. So it creates the bullet. It gives it some stuff. Later on we'll shoot it, but this is to determine its coordinates. And then it says, nope, we can't shoot this one anymore. So the next time we click the button, it says, can we shoot 1 equals true? And then this time it's false. So it's always waiting for that alarm to change it back to true. So here we're going to go to the alarm 0. I'm going to create it there. Alarm 0 code. Here we're going to say can shoot 1 equals false and can shoot 2 equals true. So at this point in time we can't shoot the left one, but we can shoot the right one. So I'm going to copy this and create alarm 1, and it's just going to be the opposite. So this one's true and this one's false. There we go. So let's go back into our left button. Okay, so we've done that. We are working out exactly which gun is going to be shooting. We are working out where the bullet's going to be placed. That's at the X and the Y, depending on our len X1 and our len Y1, or len X2 and len Y2, depending on which gun is shooting. So once we've done all that, over here, see, this is the common code that's going to be common to pretty much every gun that our ship has. We're going to be actually creating this bullet now. So here we say bullet ID, that's the temporary variable created right in the beginning, equals instance create. There we go. So now we need our X and Y. This has to be depending on our angles and stuff. So again, you have to check out my tutorial on shooting because I explained this piece of code in greater detail than I will now. So we've got our X plus our length direction X, and then here we take into account the X and our current image angle of our player. Close that off, and here we're minusing our length direction Y, the Y. Again, we're taking into account our image angles. If we take into account the image angle a lot, there we go. Close it off. So that's our X portion. See, if you look here at the bottom, that's the X portion, all of that. So I'm going to make a space here so that we can see. Put it out of here. And here we say Y plus, so you can just copy this pretty much. Put over there and change that to Y. Length direction, this changes to Y. Again, the X image angle, this changes to plus. Length direction, that opposite, changes to X. Again, the Y image angle. And then our last argument is the object. So in this case, we're creating an object bullet, which we have yet to create. We will in a moment, but for now that's just saying where we want the bullet to be created. Yeah, so that takes into account the angle of our player when we shoot it. Then there's some other things that we need to supply to this bullet ID instance, such as its image angle. There we go, which in this case is going to be the image angle of our player. There we go. Then, as I said before, at a later stage in the next tutorial, when we take into account hit registration and destroying of objects, we need to make sure that this bullet is given the ID and the name of the owner, whoever creates it. What's cool about this is when the player is destroyed, what we can do is we can find out the ID or the name of the player who shot this bullet, which led to our destruction. And then from there we can work out exactly who shot us and who killed us and who gets the points. So here we're going to say bullet ID owner equals, and then here player ID. So that's my player ID that the server's given me. And here we've got bullet ID dot name equals name. So as in the preview, when we shot the bullet, it had a number and a name. It had the number, which was our player ID that the server's given us, and it had our player name that we typed in to that dialog box when we joined the game. So now that that's all done, we need to make sure that this information is getting sent straight to the server. So as before, hbuffer, and then here we need to clear the global buffer firstly, then buffer, right, uint8. Here I'm going to write global buffer and 6. If I go into the server side over here, we need to make sure what the next number is on that switch. So we've got a 2, we've got a 5 over here, so let's do a 6. We'll do a 6. Okay, let's make this big again. So we're writing a 6. That's our tag. Then here we're going to say h buffer write. And what we need to write here is the x, the y, the image angle, the player ID, that's this thing, the name, and then we need to take all that information from the buffer and write it straight to object controller's socket. So first, we're going to do a float 32 to the global buffer, and in this case, we are first writing bullet ID's x value. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and then we're writing the y value, that's its coordinates. Then we are writing its image angle. Ugh. Not alpha. There we go. Then after that, we are writing that player ID. I mean, you could say bulletid.owner, but it's the same thing. So we're getting that. Then we are copying it one more time. Change this float 32 to string. So we need to write that name right over there. Once that's all done, we need to say socket write message. So if you understand how messages are sent and received, this will be extremely familiar to you. So here we're saying that we are writing to the object controller. Show me that, yes. Controller socket. And what are we writing to that? The global buffer. Just like that. Okay, recap. So we created the bullet at a certain location. We are giving its image angle to this, setting it the same as the ship's image angle. We are giving it our player ID, that's who owns the bullet, and we're giving it a name, the name of our player. Then what we're doing is clearing the buffer of any information it currently has, sending a tag of 6. We are writing the X, the Y, the image angle, our player's ID, and our name, and we're sending that all to object controller's socket, putting the whole global buffer to object controller socket. Now that that's done, that is shooting. We're sending the message to the server. The server needs to take all this information and send it to all the clients and do stuff with it. So once that's done, we're going to say OK. We're going to OK these two. We need to jump now to the server side over here. Go into object player. It's going to be receiving that 6. So what I want to do is open a local player, this one here. Put that on the right. Scroll down to where we're sending stuff here. Go down here. Make sure we create our case 6. There we go. So we're going to create some temporaries. Remember, when the server is receiving some data, it needs to create some temporary variables. So we're going to say var bullet x, bullet y, bullet angle. We've got our bullet ID and our bullet name. Bullet ID is just pretty much the ID of the owner. Okay, so we've got those temporaries in. So now we need to get these temporaries information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write these out. Like that, X, Y, angle. Remember, we need to get them in the same order that they were sent. That's a big part of this. Put a name. So it was sent in, okay, obviously, this tag has been taken over here. That's where we read the tag. So after the tag, we've got the X, we've got the Y, we've got the image angle, we've got the player ID, and the name. So make sure we've got X, Y, the angle, ID, and name. Excellent. So here we say hbufferRead equals, hbufferRead, and here we notice that it was a float 32. We should be reading the same data type, and here we're just reading it from the global buffer. Excellent. And we can actually copy that pretty much everywhere and just change this last one where it says name to string. So it's float 32, float 32, float 32, float 32 string. That's done. Now notice we are not creating any sort of bullet instance in our server, because as I'm doing in this case, the server is just going to be running in the background. It's not going to have any fanciness about it. But if you wanted to, have some sort of graphical instances happening on your server, then you could create a bullet thingy and give it all these variables and then, have it do stuff as if it was a client, but you can't interact with it. So you're just kind of like an observer on that server. If you want to do that, it's all up to you. So basically, as always, we are just using the server as a messenger. So it's just going to read the information and send it to all the clients. So here we're going to, again, hbuffer clear the global buffer. And I can copy these, because we're pretty much just sending the same stuff. Just to be sure. Sending a 6 again. If we go to the control over here, we need to make sure that case 6 is available. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is available. That's what we're going to be sending. But what I want to do in this case is send the bullet ID first. This one needs to be sent first. So here, just check that away, change to bullet ID, make this bigger. And after bullet ID, we're going to send the X and the Y. Then, oh, whoops, bullet X, there we go, and bullet Y. So we're just forwarding these values to all the clients. Then the bullet angle, followed by the bullet name. Make sure that's a string. Oh, what we can do is delete that one. Okay, so the ID, then we've got the X, we've got the Y, we've got the angle, and we've got the name. Cool. So now we need to make sure that we're sending this information only to, the clients that haven't shot it. So we don't want to send this information to the guy who sent this message to us. I mean, there's no point doing that. He already knows he's created the bullet. What I like to do before I send things to players is, make sure that player exists. So here we're going to say if instance exists object player, because we're going to be cycling through all of them. So make sure there's at least one. With object player, cycling through all the object players, we need to say if ID is not equal to other other.id. So that's going to make sure we're not sending this message straight back to the same guy who sent it to us. It's only going to be sending them to everyone else. So here we say socket writer. I can just go up here and copy one of these, paste it in there. Socket write message, socket to the global buffer. So we're writing the buffer to the local socket and sending it to the clients, except the client who told us he was shooting. So there we go. We are writing the tag of 6, writing the bullet ID, the X, the Y, the angle, and the name of this bullet that we've received. So now it's going to be heading straight back to the client, right over here. So let's copy these things, because we're going to be using them in a bit. Copy. These are right. It doesn't matter. Okay. You know what, on second thoughts, I think I'm going to go back into this object player and make sure we're consistent with our sending and receiving of messages. So let's actually put this where it was before, down here. Ooh, also, it shouldn't be float 32, it should be u int 32. Ooh, watch out. Int 32. Just make sure when we're sending that, what did we send it as? Could have been a float 32. Player ID float 32. This must be uint. Okay, cool. That's done. So yeah, we're going to be sending this back to the client now that the server has everything updated into object controller of the client. Going to step, it was a 6, was it? Yes, tag of 6, here, case 6, break. We can copy pretty much all of this over there. So that is all good. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same. And here we're going to be creating the bullet. So var I equals instance create. Oh, whoops. I'm going to be creating it at bullet X, bullet Y, creating object bullet, which we're still going to make. Good. Then we're going to be passing it some variables. I dot image angle equals bullet angle. I dot owner equals bullet ID. I dot name equals bullet name. Simple. So we're getting this from the server. It's just acting as a messenger. Again, we're creating the temporaries. We are reading in the X, Y, the angle, the ID, the name. float, uint32 string. There we go, creating the bullet instance at bullet x, bullet y. We're creating an instance of object bullet, which we'll create in a second. We're giving its image angle depending on the one we received here in bullet angle, and we're setting its owner to bullet ID and its name to bullet name. So now that that's all done, let's go create that bullet. Here, object bullet. Give it that sprite, add a create, step, and a draw. So in the create, we're going to have firstly a speed, set this to 5, direction equals image angle. So it's going to be traveling in the direction of its image angle. We're going to initialize owner and name. I can give them both blank strings. Then we now step. We can just copy that, place it in here just in case we want to change that at any point in time. Then also we need to make sure that this bullet destroys itself after it's traveled a certain distance, because we don't want it going off the screen and then staying in memory. So you can either say you have another event and say if it goes out of the room, but remember, if you're going to be doing a game like this, your game room is going to be pretty big, so you want it to go maybe 1,000 pixels and then destroy itself. So if distance to point, and then here we're going to have x start, y start is greater than, I'll say 500. Instance destroy. Yeah, easy. Yeah, so that's pretty much the bullet. Oh wait, we're still going to do the draw. Draw self. Draw set color C white. Draw text x y minus 20. Here we're going to say string owner. Draw text x y minus 10 string name. Cool. So that'll just draw that the player's ID as well as the player's name when it's created. So that's all done. I'll do a quick run through this. As a local player, we are left pressing here to create the bullet. As long as we have ammo, then it's going to check which gun can shoot. Once it works out which one is shooting, it gives those offsets to the X and the Y variables. Then we're creating a bullet instance and assigning it to the variable bullet ID. Then we're giving it an image angle, an owner and a name variable. Its image angle will be the same as our player's ship. The owner variable will be our player ID, and its name will be our player name that we entered into the dialog box when we started the game. Then we are clearing the buffer. We are writing a tag of 6. We are writing the X, the Y, the image angle of that bullet, as well as our player ID and our name, all to the controller socket right over there. Then if we go into our server, object player, step, here we're going to look at 6, whatever it is over here. We are creating some temporary variables. We are reading in all the variables from the client. We are clearing the buffer. We are writing a tag of 6. We are writing the bullet X, bullet Y, the bullet angle, bullet ID, and the bullet name. We're making sure we're sending it to every client except the client that sent us this current message saying he was shooting. Then we're jumping back here into object controller of the client, into the step, which was a tag of 6, 5, 6. Again, it's pretty much exactly the same stuff as the server is doing. We're just creating some temporary variables. We're reading in that bullet X, the bullet Y, the bullet angle, the bullet ID, and the bullet name. Then we are creating this bullet instance at the bullet X, bullet Y position. We're giving it an image angle, an owner, and a name depending on its bullet angle, bullet ID, and bullet name received from the server. So that is a breakdown of exactly what it's doing. I mean, it's only 3 things, but it's taken quite some time to put them all together. So we're going to save both of these, and I'm going to create 2 clients to run on the server, and we can see how that shooting works. So here we go. We have a player at the bottom right and a player at the top left, and he can shoot. Billy is shooting. His ID is 2. It's sending it quite nicely here to me. See, they're too far away, so the bullets are destroying themselves before they get there. So I mean, you can obviously increase that. Greater than 500. So everything's working perfectly. If I click left button, it's creating a bullet. It's sending it to the server, and the server is sending it to everyone but the person who created the bullet, and it's saying at that position, create a bullet. Give that bullet the image angle of the player that created it, and send it along in that direction at a speed of 5. So now that we've done all that, in our next tutorial I'm going to be doing hit registration. So when this bullet hits my player, I'm going to be taking the information that the bullet has, and I'm going to be determining, did I shoot this bullet, or did someone else shoot it at me, and should I take damage or destroy myself? So that can all be done in the next tutorial. So I hope you found this tutorial educational and helpful. Please feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe. If you liked this video as well as many of my other GameMaker tutorials, please check out my Patreon campaign where you can support this channel financially. All proceeds go to adding new concepts and features to the channel. Feel free to follow and like me on various social media platforms. Links are all in the description. You can also find the GameMaker Studio project file in the description. Download that, give it a fiddle, see if you can figure out how to get these other guns to shoot. See, this one's got another 2 guns there on the sides. If you can get those to work, if you do, then you're well on your way to the next tutorial. Otherwise, give this video another watch through. If you have any errors, please paste the entire error code in the comments. I can help you out. If you have any suggestions, let me know too before we go on to the next one. Maybe there's something in between that you'd like me to check out. I can do that. So until then, happy coding, happy holidays, and I'll see you guys next time for another great GameMaker tutorial.